All right, welcome to the Oregon Ducks Live on the Voice of College Football. I'm Bjorn.
And I'm Brody.
And we're missing Brendan Eberle today. He had a scheduling conflict, so it's just me and Brody today. And we're going to be discussing – what's that?
Said don't miss him, but it's okay.
Mm-hmm. Very true. We'll be discussing USC preview, and then we're going to dive into the college football playoff, the rankings that came out on Tuesday night. Also go into some keys to the game for the Ducks against USC, and then some recruiting talk at the end. All right, Brody, you ready to get into it?
Absolutely.
All righty. So we're going to break down USC's offense first. So their scoring offense, they're number 10 in the nation, 38.2 points per game. Rushing yards, they're number 28 with 190.8 yards per game. They're number 10 also in passing yards, 298.1 yards per game. Their protection is pretty good, number 20 in the nation. They've given up 12 sacks. They're one of the best third down conversion teams in the nation, 51.7. That's number 8. And then they score touchdowns on 70% of their red zone trips. That's number 9. So Ducks are against one of the best offenses in the country. And we'll start with breaking down their quarterback, Jaden Mayava. He transferred in from UNLV last season. And he took over the starting job near the end of last season. And he's been great this year. He's at 2,868 yards, 18 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He stands 6'4", 230 pounds. Not the most athletic, but he gets it done. He's rushed for 6 touchdowns this year. He leads the Trojans. He's not Fernando Mendoza, but I think he is the second best quarterback that the Ducks will face this season.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. Where do you think he ranks amongst like Big Ten passers in general?
I think it's very similar to like what the Big Ten team rankings would be with Mendoza, Julian Sayin from Ohio State, and Dante Moore at Oregon in the top 3. I think you could argue with Sayin and Dante taking that 2 spot. I think Mendoza's solidified himself as number 1, in my opinion. I don't know if we want to debate that, but I think Mayava's. I think he's a solid number 4. I think he's competing with Damon Williams for that 4 spot from Washington. I think others that you can mention is Luke Altmaier from Illinois. He's had a bit of a disappointing season, as their team has. And then Dylan Raiola, he's talented, Nebraska, true sophomore. I just don't think he's there yet. I think he needs another year. And then Nico Iamaleava, obviously UCLA's had a disappointing year. They had a pretty good 3-game stretch where he balled out, but I don't think he's up there. So I would put Mayava at 4. I think it's a 4A, 4B, him and Damon Williams, and Ducks get a good look at them next 2 games. So what would you say?
Yeah. I think Drew Aller would definitely still be in the conversation if he was healthy. I think him and Mayava, just from like a talent standpoint, are like pretty similar. I still think Mendoza is like firmly in that 1 spot passes the Ducks have faced. But as far as the Big Ten, I still think Sayin has proven that he's the best pure pass in the Big Ten. He has 80% completion percentage, which unbelievable. Like what that dude's doing is just I can't even fathom it. I still give Dante the slight edge or Mendoza just because I feel like a little bit of Mendoza's stats are inflated by like RPO heavy offense. I think Dante, just from a pure talent standpoint, just will always have that slight edge for me because of his upside. And then I have Mayava at 4. If Haller was still healthy, I would be debating that one. But I have Desmond Williams at 5.
So you have Mendoza at 3.
Yeah, I think it's more of a 1A, 1B, 1C type of thing. It just really depends on like what type of quarterback you want to run your system. I think Mendoza's perfect for Indiana's system. I think Sayin's perfect for Ohio State's, and like they could run each other's systems, but I think they've really these 3 teams have really done a great job of building their offense around those 3 guys. Yeah, and then as far as like Mayava too, like I think he's like what he really excels at is a couple of like these bender routes, these throws over the middle of the field to who we'll get into a little bit later, but Jacoby Lane, and he can run a little bit. You see he has a couple design runs. He had one that ended up being a touchdown in a big clutch time situation. And I think we'll focus that a little bit more than we did Mendoza. And that'll be a bit more of a focal point on scout team this week compared to Mendoza, where it felt like we just weren't prepared for him to run at all. But I think we'll be prepared for Maeva to run.
Yeah, I think Maeva, he looks to, like, on pass plays, on scrambles, I think he's first looking to pass downfield. I see some, when I watch him, I see a little bit of Caleb Williams, just a tiny bit. He's obviously not Caleb Williams' playmaking ability, but he has those same traits, and he's looking to throw downfield, and then last second, he'll rush it in. And so leading into that, we'll get into the running back situation. Waymon Jordan was the starter. He got hurt a little while back. He had ankle surgery. Lincoln Riley said earlier this week that he doesn't expect him back against Oregon. So in his place, King Miller is a redshirt freshman. He stepped up, and he's been great for him. He's averaging 113 yards since taking over as a starter. He leads the team with 719 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns on 99 carries. He's 6 foot, 210. He's a physical runner, not a passing threat out of the backfield, so Ducks don't have to worry about that. But it will be another big week of Jerry Mixon and Bryce Betcher having to step up and fill those holes on the inside. That'll be another test for them. And then breaking down the wide receivers, their best player is Mekhi Lemon, their wide receiver 1. And he's been arguably the best receiver in the country this year. I'd say, in my opinion, he's a surefire first-round pick in 2026. He's 5'11", 195. He's physical after the catch, but he's also a technical route runner. Gets open, uses speed to create space. He has over 1,000 yards on the year, 8 touchdowns, 71 receptions, and he's coming off. He's on a hot streak right now. Last 2 games against Northwestern and Iowa, 21 catches, 314 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I would say he's the favorite for the Blitnikoff Award, which is given to the best receiver in college football. And then on the other side is Jacoby Lane. He's another wide receiver to watch. He's also in the conversation to be a day 1, day 2 pick in 2026. He's 6'4", 200 pounds, but he's really fast, faster than his size would suggest. But he's also a jump ball guy. He had 12 touchdowns last year. He's only got 4 this year, but 40 catches for 585 yards. He's solidified as the number 2 option. And you can tell Maeva really trusts him because he has that big frame. He can throw it up wherever he wants it, and Lane will go get it. And then Luke McCree from the tight end position, 3rd on the team, 24 catches, 389 yards, 2 touchdowns. He'll also be a factor, and he's stood out in recent weeks as well. So Brody, I'm going to ask you, how can Oregon schematically defend USC's pass catchers? Because these guys can really break the game open if given the opportunity to.
Yeah. Well, first off, like Mekhi Lemon, I also think he's a surefire first-round pick. I think I said Jacoby Lane earlier on accident, but it's really Mekhi Lemon that is really going and getting those bender routes, and he just has this chemistry with Maeva that just really can't be taught, and he's really shown up in a couple of big moments, like that catch against Iowa was just unbelievable over the shoulder. Like, I don't know if there's another receiver in the country not named Jeremiah Smith that even makes that. And even for him, that's not, a surefire catch. Yeah, that duo, like Jacoby Lane, he might be 6'4", but like he's run the whole route tree. Like you see those outside like corner routes that he runs. Like he's not just a jump ball, like streak and comeback type of guy. Like he can really run anything. And that proves to be a very hard task for the defense at hand. Obviously, we have a potential All-American in Brian Finney. So the question is, which receiver do you want to put him on? Finney's a very lengthy corner, so do you want to put him on the 6'4" Jacoby Lane, or do you want to just try to put him on Mekhi Lemon in the bracket Jacoby? I think what I would do personally is I'd probably have Finney follow Jacoby Lane either side of the field. They match up physical profile-wise. And then you bracket Lemon and you try to limit him as far as his explosiveness. And you just trust that your guys up front can stop the run game, which is a little concerning because when USC runs the ball 30 times or more, I think they're 8-1 when they've run the ball over 30 times in a game. So like you just have to trust that your front seven is going to be able to get it done against what is a weaker USC offensive line. And then Lake McCree, like he made a big time catch. I think it was against Notre Dame, like back in the end zone. Like he's a talented guy, and we're gonna have to account for him. I think he is definitely an X factor that we're gonna have to scheme against. The other argument is Mekhi Lemon, who doesn't have the best like physical profile. Do you put Finney on him, like NFL style corner, press him at the line constantly, just make him uncomfortable, give him safety help over the top, and then try to bracket over Jacoby Lane, kind of like what the Patriots did with Revis and Browner. You put Browner on the number 1 and Revis on number 2. You trust Revis to take the number 2, and then you start bracketing the number 1 with Browner and the safety, and really try to take him away that way. So that's probably how I would go about it. You can debate either way, but I feel like Finney and whoever wins that matchup between Finney and whoever he ends up guarding, like that's ultimately going to decide the outcome of the game.
Yeah, and I think that's something that you can see from the first play of the game is how how Tosh Lipoi, the Oregon's defensive coordinator, lines up against them. And I like your point about putting Finney on Lane and putting the trust in Finney that he can take Lane completely out of the game, and then putting all your other attention on Lemon. And I think Jaden Kennedy, the other corner, he matches up well physically with Lemon. They're similar size, and then having either Thieneman or Aaron Flowers shade to that side, have the backers shade to that side. I think that's a good plan. But we'll have to wait and see how they do it.
Yeah, I think a lot of this, like these Tampa 2 looks, or these just these different looks that we have Thieneman in to try to like get into the box, like that might be he might be playing a little bit deeper this week to try to stop some of those over the middle routes that Lemon runs so well. So I guess we'll just have to see when the first snap is taken.
Yeah. We can get into their defense now. Nothing too special on the defensive side of the ball for USC, which is on brand for them. They're 41st in the country in points allowed, 21.7, 63rd in rushing yards allowed, 145.8. And then they're tied 41st with 24 sacks. And the two guys that I would highlight for Ducks fans are safety Bishop Fitzgerald. He got dinged up against Iowa, but he went back into the game. Lincoln Riley said he's expecting him to be back. This is his first season with USC. He's a senior, but he's making an impact right away as the leader of the secondary. Began his career at NC State. He's 5'11", 205 pounds. But he uses his anticipation, and he's very rangy from the safety position. He has 5 interceptions this year, so that's definitely something that Dante Moore will have to look out for. And then Eric Gentry, he's unconventional linebacker frame, 6'6", 225 pounds. You don't see that very often at all. But he's pretty physical. He has a team high 5 forced fumbles, and has 3 sacks this season, which is tied for second on the team. He's been at USC for 4 years, and he has had an impact all 4 years. Leads him in tackles this year with 64, and he'll have a big hand in attempting to stop the Ducks' rushing attack, which I think that's the way that USC is going to win this game, is by stopping the run, making Dante throw the ball. I mean, Dante has weapons, but that's another thing we can get into is the injuries with Evan Stewart and DeCorian Moore. We haven't really heard much. I think my expectation is that since we haven't heard a ton and it's dealing with lower leg injuries, that they will not be available this Saturday. I would say Washington is more of a possibility for both of them, one or both. But I mean, we saw last game, Dante Moore makes do with what he's got, and targeting Sadiq and J-Mac, they make tough catches. So
yeah, and Benson, just continually step up every single week. As far as the USC defense, like those two guys, Bishop Fitzgerald and Eric Gentry, like they're obviously very talented, led by Deonton Lynn. Similar tree, comes from Michigan Ravens, similar to Mike McDonald. Like they really want to just try to make Dante uncomfortable. give him different looks, making him try to speed up on certain progressions and try to slow him down on certain, like you don't know if they're going to drop 8 in the coverage or if they're just going to send the house. So giving them some of those simulated pressure looks that he struggled with against Indiana, struggled with a little bit versus Iowa. Like Dante's obviously like this is his first like full season starting. He started 4 games against UCLA, but like there's some of these looks that like he hasn't seen yet. So I think that could end up giving us some problems if we can't stay ahead of the run game. That being said, I have not seen those looks as often this year as in years prior. I see a lot more traditional 4-man fronts that USC is trying to run, a little bit more fundamental, and that has caused them to be one of the worst run defenses in the country, in my opinion, because they are failing to tackle the ball carrier in the backfield consistently. They only have 3 tackles for loss on the runs in the red zone this entire year. So as soon as the offense gets down to the red zone, just they are struggling to create penetration, like when it really gets down and dirty. And they are 49 of 403 on rushes this season defended that are tackled for 0 yards or less. So they are really struggling stopping that run on early downs, and that can create problems for them as Oregon can stay ahead of the sticks, maybe lean more into that play action, get Sadiq in space, Benson in space. So I would say that that's also like the key for USC is stopping that Oregon run game, trying to force some tackles for loss, give them more exotic looks that they haven't shown as much this season, but they are capable of running because that is what D'Anton Lynn knows. So.
Yeah, you mentioned their defense in the red zone not being up to par. I think that's where the Ducks, they've been especially good with handing it to Jordan Davison. He's just eaten in the red zone. And the defense knows that it's coming every time. He winds up as a fullback. It'll be Hill as a tailback. They'll send Hill out to either the right or left and then just give it underneath to Davison. It's super effective. I can't remember a single time that it hasn't worked. And so I think we could see more of that.
I think the only time I remember not working is against Penn State one time. And that was so long ago. But Davidson's only gotten better since then.
Oh, yeah. I think we can start getting into the keys to the game. We can go back and forth with them. I think on the other side, red zone wise, Ducks have not been great in the red zone defensively. They've given up a touchdown 70%. Trojans have coincidentally scored 70% of the time they get to the red zone. Scored touchdowns. I personally think that USC won't have it won't be easy for them to move the ball in between the 20s. But I think they have a chance. They have a good chance to, and we could see the red zone become a huge factor in this game both ways. And I think Oregon coming out on top is critical. So yeah, that's probably my first key of the game is looking at that red zone matchup both ways.
Yeah, I think we talked about it earlier, but like Thieneman, like he's going to be a big deal in just stopping that USC offense, and I would not be surprised if he ended the game with the pick, just like where he plays at on the field and where Maeva likes to target.
And then I think it's obvious, but limiting Lemon and Lane, we got into the strategies for that. And then running the football, I think that's just another obvious huge one. That's been a key for the Ducks all season long. The USC defense has had trouble defending the run, as you mentioned. Jeremiah Love of Notre Dame carried the ball 24 times for 228 yards and a touchdown. And last week, Iowa's running back Kamari Moulton, who had trouble against the Ducks, ran 15 times for 90 yards as one of his highest totals this year. So I think just pounding the rock with Whittington, De'Aaron Hill, and Jordan Davison is going to be key. And Will Stein just has to continue to trust in that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think both of Notre Dame's backs really especially there's a couple like inside zone just style like plays that I saw them break for 20, 30, 40 yards, and the explosiveness that Oregon's like offense is slowly like gained throughout the season. I think USC would be foolish not to put a lot of their cards in trying to stop that.
Yeah. And then I also think getting off to a fast start, there's going to be a lot of energy in the stadium. USC they've been primarily a slow starting team. They came back last week against Iowa when they were playing at home. And it's been critical for the Ducks to get the crowd going right away so they can just get into the game, get that energy flowing. And then that way the Ducks can run the ball, have a positive game script, be up to the clock, and then get those play action shots down the field that Will Stein loves to dial up.
Yeah, USC getting down 14-0 to Iowa and then 21-7 against half. That's just not going to fly against Oregon. I think they were down against Nebraska too at the half. So they really cannot afford a slow start, because if they're forced to get into these obvious passing situations, you have Mateo and Tatum coming off the edges, which we saw them stunt a lot less last week. So having one potential first-round pick and a potential top 3-round pick coming off the edge, you do not want those guys firing, especially when you have Bear and Washington on the inside. You do not want to get behind, especially at Autzen, where you're reacting to the defense. You're not necessarily going on a snap count. They have to start fast, and Oregon has to limit that if they want to win the game.
Yeah, Washington's drawing first-round buzz as well. And Bear Alexander, it's worth pointing out that he was at USC a couple of years ago, and he got benched for disciplinary reasons. I don't think it ever came out the exact reasoning, but I'm sure he's going to have a lot of motivation, push that pocket, collapse the pocket, and we could see some sacks this game, which the Ducks haven't been great at this season, surprisingly enough. Do you have any keys to the game, Brody?
I think obviously establishing the run, that's going to be the biggest thing. And we just need to continue to utilize play action. If we're having this strong run game where we're averaging chunk and we're getting explosives, we need to be able to stay ahead of the sticks. And once we get those opportunities on second and short, take shots downfield. And because that's when you are going to see some more different fronts and looks, is when USC is getting a little desperate and they're trying to get us behind the sticks. And you need to be able to take advantage when they're not playing their keep everything in front of them style defense. And then also just continuing to use the personnels, 12, 22, 21, just being creative with the possibility of Dak Moore and Eastu still being out. You got to be able to utilize those personnels, get Jamari Johnson involved, get Sadiq involved, get Davidson, Hill, Whittington. You got to put your best athletes on the field at the end of the day and just let them make plays.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about Dante really much at all as it pertains to this game, but I think for him, he just needs to do what he did against Minnesota, treat it as a similar game, spread the ball evenly, get it to Sadiq, which Stein dialed up some plays for Sadiq, so I expect the same. And overall, just spread it around. Don't do too much. I don't think this is a game where we are going to need Dante to do too much. Just lean on the running backs, lean on the defense. Just do what he's been doing all year. And so if we are ready to move into the betting on the game, the lines are according to FanDuel. Oregon is favored by 9.5. The line opened at 8.5. So it's already shifting up, already a point. And then the over-under is high. It's 59.5. Money line, Oregon, minus 350. USC, plus 280. Brody, what do you think about that 59.5 line?
Yeah, I think that's going to end up being my pregame pick. I think that's too high of a line. These are obviously two explosive offenses, but you got to take into account USC's slow starts, being at Autzen. I don't think that Oregon is going to just move the ball at will. I feel like 59.5 is a little bit too high. I think it'll be a little bit closer of a game, and I think that that's going to be my pick for the week. Also, it's also worth noting that I think on some sites it even started as close as 7.5, and it's just continuing to grow throughout the week.
Yeah. So your weekly pick is the under 59.5. Alrighty. So Brendan, so backing up a little bit, each week we're going to be providing our pick of the game, and we're keeping a tally throughout the season. Me and Brendan are 1-0. Brody lost last week, so he's 0-1. He's trying to get back in the win column. So my pick is going to be the first half total. It's set at 30.5. I would take the under. Like Brody said, USC starts slow. I think it'll be a filling out period in the first 30 minutes. Both teams will be trying to establish the run. That's a huge key for both sides. So that'll chew the clock. And I think the scoring will pick up in the second half. I think it actually goes over. So I would counter what your pick is. I think it goes over the game total, but under the first half total.
So that's fair. I was just gonna say I feel like Oregon gonna lean heavily on the run game, and if they do get up early because USC's having another slow start, they're just gonna continually pound the rock. And they cannot allow it to turn into a track meet. I think Oregon will fend better against USC if they just play their game, run the ball, play action, be disciplined, and try to limit the amount of time that Lane and Lemon are on the field.
Yeah, I think that it's worth mentioning that the Ducks' run game has been one of the most explosive in the country, though. So while you would think running the ball is chewing the clock, they've ripped off plenty of 20, 30, even 60-yard runs. So I think that's another reason that I think with USC's weak defensive line, as the game progresses, they'll break down, and then we could see some pop in the second half. Brendan, he's not here, but he gave us our pick. He gave us his pick for the week. It's Jordan Davison over 53.5 rush yards. He also provided Davison anytime touchdown. That's -165, so not quite even odds, but that one has been free all season because he's 12 rush touchdowns. Seems like he gets them every game. If we want to move on to game day, so it seems like Justin Herbert might be the picker for college game day. Madison Beer, his girlfriend, posted some pictures on social media where she was over the Cascades and then in the Pacific Northwest forest. Brody, what's your take on that? How fun would that be?
Yeah, I think it's would be great to have Herbert back in Eugene. I also think it's important to note that the Commanders and the Broncos are both on bye this week too, so we could potentially see those big three and Mariota, Nix, and Herbert all make an appearance at some point this weekend, which will absolutely have an impact on the game. People get excited for the quarterbacks. They get excited for Madison Beer. They get excited for all those people. So I think it could definitely affect the energy in the crowd.
Do you think Lanning takes his shirt off?
I don't know if he does it twice, so
I don't think he'll be. I personally don't think he'll be involved in the game day stuff at all. If they beat Indiana, but just a reminder, game day. This is the second time it'll be in Eugene. They were in Eugene week 7 when Oregon lost 30-20 to Indiana. So, and Lanning was heavily involved in the game day activities at 5-6 a.m., taking his shirt off, standing on the chair with Pat McAfee. So I don't think he does it again. I don't think he'll be involved. I think it'll be strictly business this time around. Yeah. And then we can get into the college football playoff if you want to do that. So I'll quickly run through the teams. The top 12 is Ohio State, Indiana, no surprise there. Texas A&M, they came back from a 30-3 second half deficit or halftime deficit. They're still undefeated, so no surprise there as well. Georgia at number 4, they jumped up after Alabama lost. Texas Tech number 5, Ole Miss number 6, and Ducks are at number 7. And then Oklahoma, who beat Alabama, is at number 8. Notre Dame number 9, Alabama 10. They were at 4, and they dropped all the way to 10 after losing to Oklahoma. And Notre Dame, I think it's notable that they jumped them. Notre Dame jumped Alabama as well. And then BYU is at 11, Utah at 12. And in the actual bracket, the rankings have Miami from the ACC at number 11 and Tulane, which is number 24 in the rankings, but they would be the group of 5 filling that 12 spot. What's your main takeaways? Do you have any arguments with this list?
Yeah, I think it's quite frankly ridiculous that Notre Dame is ahead of Alabama. I know you guys disagreed with that take last podcast, but I mean, Alabama went into Athens and beat Georgia, and Notre Dame's best win, is USC at the end of the day. But they've lost their two marquee matchups in Texas A&M, and gosh, who else did they play? It was
I got you.
Miami. They lost to Miami. Yeah, that was going to be my next point. They lost to Miami, and Miami still has the same amount of losses and is ranked behind them. I think that's quite frankly ridiculous. I think the only reason that Notre Dame is ahead of Alabama is so the committee can justify not putting Miami over them. Because if you have head-to-head matchups and you have common opponents, like Miami beat them head-to-head. They are the better team. I don't care if it was early in the season. I don't care about this or that. It is ridiculous that you can justify.
It was week one.
It doesn't. Then why you play the game? What is the point of playing the games if you beat someone head-to-head and you're going to be held out of the playoffs instead of them? That is unbelievable. I cannot believe that Notre Dame is getting this bias consistently. They have played subpar competition. USC hadn't found out how to play on the road consistently yet. They were still figuring stuff out, and that's their marquee win. And you have Miami behind Notre Dame, who they beat head-to-head, and their one common opponent, Miami beat them by more than Notre Dame did. I don't understand the bias with Notre Dame. I think the only reason Alabama's behind them is so they can justify not putting Miami in the top of the bracket. And Miami can't even win the ACC. So when they have them as the ACC representative,
it doesn't make
they're
much
just
sense.
doing that so people are not talking about it. And I think it's stupid. And I think at the end of all of this, the committee's praying that Oklahoma loses to either Missouri or Missouri, one of those last two games. I think they play Texas too.
Oklahoma.
I hope
they play
not Texas. They play someone tough. I forgot who it was.
Let's look. They play Missouri at home and then LSU at home, which should have Garrett Nussmeier back, but that's still in question.
Yeah, I think they're praying that Oklahoma loses so they can put Miami and Notre Dame in. But I think Notre Dame is at risk of dropping out even if they win out, because there's no way that they can justify two teams that have the same record and they beat the other team and putting them in the playoffs over it. Because why are we valuing losses more than wins? So that just gets me heated at the end of the day. I just don't understand it. I hate Miami. I hate Cristobal. He's a fraud and he sucks and he's always going to lose those easy games that he should never win. But they're better than Notre Dame. They beat them, and it gets upsetting.
I cannot agree with you in the slightest. I think the committee. I'll offer a different perspective. I think the committee is taking the approach that right now on November 19th, Notre Dame is a better football team than Miami, and I think that they've clearly shown that they are. I don't care about the week one loss. Obviously, it matters a little bit. But that was week one. That was CJ Carr's first collegiate start. He's improved a lot. He's their quarterback. Jeremiah Love, I think he had 30 yards rushing or something. He's caught his stride. I think as a team, Notre Dame is just so much better than Miami, and that's not even a real argument here. It's Notre Dame versus Alabama, and I think that's a much closer. I think that's much closer comparison because Alabama, we know that they can beat Georgia. I don't know if Notre Dame could beat Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, they went into Athens. They have better wins. They have a harder strength of schedule. They have a harder strength of record than Notre Dame. There is no reason that they should be behind Notre Dame either. And Notre Dame's is in the 30s for all of those stats. And it doesn't make sense to me, the bias that they have for Notre Dame. I honestly don't get it. I think Jeremiah Love is fantastic. I think they're playing a lot better than they were at the beginning of the season. But why on earth would Miami ever schedule Notre Dame again, or any of these SEC teams or Big Ten teams? Like, why would Ohio State schedule Texas again, or Texas schedule Ohio State? Texas would probably still be in the hunt and still be in the conversation if they didn't schedule Ohio State at the beginning of the season. So why are we taking down the level of marquee matchups that we all want to see out of conference play and devaluing them because, we think they're better later in the season? So why wouldn't everyone just schedule 4 tune-up games, and we're not going to see any fun matchups for the first 4 weeks of the season until we get in the conference play? I think it's devaluing, and I think it's stupid.
So from the way that you're talking, you think that Florida State at 13-0 without Jordan Travis in 2023 should have made the playoff?
I think they deserve to make the playoffs but I also think Alabama was a better football team. But that was a completely different situation because Jordan Travis got hurt. Beck is
That's
still in Miami. Like
that's true, but it was a 13-0
it's
team.
different.
Their 13 games, their 12 games with Jordan Travis didn't matter.
Dude, if they played Alabama straight up and they beat Alabama, I would be hounding and saying they should make it over. But the fact is they didn't play and they didn't have any common opponents. Notre Dame and Miami both played each other. Miami won, and they played NC State, a common opponent, and Miami beat them by more. And I hate Miami. I hate Miami way more than I hate any other team in the country. And I'm still arguing for Miami because that's how stupid I think it is. And it's just degrading to college football. And it's like, I just don't get it.
I think the one thing that we can agree on is that there's no way that unless Notre Dame loses to Syracuse or Stanford, there's no way that Alabama jumps them because this is kind of just the way that the committee said it. Alabama plays Eastern Illinois and Auburn. I don't think really they can show much that they haven't during that time.
But Bama has a tiebreaker over Georgia. So I think if they could still win the SEC, that's like they could jump all the way up to 5, in my opinion.
That's true. That's true. If that does happen, that would. Okay, so what if they get to the SC championship and they lose and they enter as a 3-loss team? What do they get in?
I mean, I think that Alabama, I don't think you should be punished for making the conference championship. I don't even think that there should be conference championships at this point because they are pointless at this point. I think the playoffs should be moved up, but I don't think they're going to punish Alabama for playing in the SEC championship. Like, that would be also ridiculous too, and that would also get me heated. And I'd hate the SEC, but I'm still defending Bama. Like, it's the principle behind it, you know?
Okay, all right, I got you. What do you think about BYU and Utah? Do you think they're at 11 and 12? Do you think they have any hope of getting in?
I'll be honest. I think Miami has a better chance of getting in over BYU or Utah. I think BYU should be in more of the conversation. I think their only chance is beating Texas Tech. And I think that's the committee's nightmare scenario is if BYU beats Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship, because then they're not going to punish Texas Tech for losing to a team they already beat early in the season or punish them for going to the conference championship. And then they're going to have to take Notre Dame out or something. Like, some crazy stuff is going to happen. I guarantee it. And that's also transitioning into what we kind of want to talk about next. That's why I don't think the Ducks are going to make it if they lose either of these last 2 games. Like, they want the SEC in there. They want Notre Dame in there. And they want one of these teams, whether it's Oklahoma or BYU or whoever, they are praying that they lose. So that way that they can justify their own decisions at the end of the day. And I think that's why Oregon, they're really going to have to fight. And I think that's why they positioned them at 7 instead of debating whether or not they should jump Ole Miss or Texas Tech. So,
yeah, I'd agree with you on that. I think that, and it's kind of crazy looking back at this. So coming off I think it was a week 10 bye for Oregon. They had 4 games left, and it was against Iowa, Minnesota, USC, and Washington. And kind of going into that stretch, they can go 3 and it's most likely that if they go 3-1, they have a spot in because a 2-loss Big Ten team would likely still make it. But now, I mean, they took care of Iowa and Minnesota, and there's some differing opinions around the country of how that Iowa loss, how that turned out, whether that's a good win or kind of an iffy win, considering some say it's their best win on schedule. But anyways, it's kind of crazy saying that the Ducks have to win against USC and Washington to make it in with 1 loss, and there's really not a ton of wiggle room if they have 2 losses, considering where they're at right now.
Yeah, I honestly that whole debate about quality wins, against Iowa or Penn State. I think that is also ridiculous because teams like Missouri and there's another SEC team, they don't have any wins besides East Texas Tech, completely irrelevant teams are. They're only they have 2 Power 4 wins, and they're still ranked over teams that have beaten top 25 opponents and beat more Power 4 opponents and have positive records in conference play, and they're just getting propped up because they're the SEC. This quality wins debate is just phony. So I just, that also is one of those topics that just get me going.
I'm guessing that Oregon's win over Penn State get you going. How do you view that one? I mean, that's a huge topic, and that will continue to be a huge topic, especially if they take a second loss. Is how the committee values that win over then number 3 Penn State in double overtime, and now they've lost 6 in a row before just getting their last one.
Yeah,
What do you
I
think of that?
People are purposely being disingenuous when they're like Penn State's 3-6. So why is that a quality win? Like, Drew Aller's out for the season. Their starting quarterback's out for the season. That is a big deal. They fired their coach. That loss completely broke Penn State. That was one of the toughest environments ever to have play for. One of the preseason, the number 2 preseason team in the country. I think they opened up number 2 and they ended up dropping to number 3 by the time we played them. That is still a good win going into Happy Valley in the whiteout. Like, all the pressure was on Penn State to win that game. Dante Moore was in his 7th collegiate start, first time with this offense starting, going in there during a whiteout, during a night game and winning. I don't know if there's many other teams in the country that at that time would have won. And just because Penn State's season has gone off the rails, why is that being disregarded as the feat that it was at the time? Their starting quarterback got hurt. Stuff happened. You don't know. It's completely hypothetical. And the SEC lives on hypotheticals, so it doesn't surprise me that they're trying to downgrade that win.
I agree with you. I still think that, if you watch that game back, the level of play was so high, and you wouldn't even know that Penn State had lost 6 in a row after it. So I think, but that's the thing, is this only comes into conversation if the Ducks suffer their second loss. It won't be a conversation if they win out, which is what they need to do, and that's kind of the conclusion right now. Is they need these 2 games against USC and Washington to get in. Otherwise, it's not in their hands, and you don't want to be at the mercy of the playoff committee. We all know that. So, if we want to move on to, there's some pivotal games across the country that will affect the Ducks and the CFP that Oregon fans could have a rooting interest for. The biggest one is number 22, Missouri. They're playing at number 8, Oklahoma. Getting Oklahoma their 3rd loss, that would just clear the mess at the bottom of the CFP rankings, because they're number 8 right now. A 3rd loss would probably knock them out, and that would just give Oregon more leeway in the case of another loss. And just if Oklahoma gets another ranked win, it's more to their resume of them potentially jumping the Ducks. And then number 11, BYU at Cincinnati. BYU's still sticking around at number 11. So just getting them another loss, that would be their 2nd. That would just be huge, clearing space at the bottom. And then number 14, Vandy, it's another one there. They play Kentucky at home. A loss would just clear the picture. And Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia, they all play, but they're against either FCS teams or a low group of 5 teams. So like I said, Ducks just need to take care of business, and that will take a lot of the stress out of the picture. Do you want to dive into some recruiting, Brody?
Yeah, I believe it was yesterday. Hudson Lewis, former Utah commit, flips to Oregon, 3-star, but he's got some really good track speed. Ran a 10.5, I believe, in the 100 meters. So, that's just improving the depth of the wide receiver room, which is telling me that we're thinking someone like maybe Kyle Casper, a couple of those guys might transfer out. We also have Gatlin Blair, 5-star, coming back from his Mormon mission. So that'll be a huge addition to the room going forward. And finally, Ryder Lyons.
What's up? DeCorian Moore coming back he was in Dak Moore. He was the number 1 this year, so he's going to be. He could be the number 2 for the next, or number 1 for the next 2 years with those guys just adding to the depth. I think that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And then finally, Ryder Lyons is visiting this weekend. His brother is a tight end for USC. The Ducks were number 2 in his recruiting. I don't think that he's going to flip. He got paid a ton of money to go to BYU. He's also going on a more mission, but it's just nice having that talent in the building. You never know, game day, the environment, and Oregon, the fact that they always make their big offers to recruits later in the cycle. You never know is going to happen in the world of recruiting these days. So that's just something to stick a pin in.
Yeah, and with it's don't want to speculate, but with Austin Novosad taking a de facto redshirt year, that which he could apply for a medical redshirt. He had an injury earlier in the season, and he hasn't appeared. He appeared in the opener, but not since then. Brock Thomas has taken over that spot. Luke Moga as well. I think he'll stay. He's the third or fourth quarterback with Novosad right now. He's a redshirt freshman. I think he'll stay, but Novosad is definitely one of the biggest transfer portal targets, I think, in the next cycle. So that just getting, if they could land Ryder after his 2-year mission, come back, add depth to the room, talent, challenge for that starting spot, that would be huge.
Yeah. And I really like Ryder Lyons. Like when I watched him on film, like he just looks like a college style quarterback. Like he may not be the NFL prospect that Jared Curtis ends up being, but he will be an electric college player. And I think BYU's got a really good one there. As far as Oregon's quarterback room, I do think Novosad will end up transferring out. The debate whether or not Luke Moga is going to transfer out, we'll see. But getting someone like Lyons or JKS potentially in the transfer portal coming down, going down the road, I think is probably the route we will end up taking in the future.
You think Saga Potele is a possibility to come back?
Yeah, I mean, like it was the same thing with Dante. Like Dante Moore, he wanted to start as a freshman. He thought he was ready. Went to UCLA, started 4 games, and kind of struggled a little bit. He came back here, and I got a couple buddies that work with the Oregon Ducks, and they said that he was like, I should have never went. Like this is where I'm meant to be. And I think a couple of those recruits just kind of feel that way. So I could totally see him taking a similar path to Dante, is starting a year there and then coming over if Dante leaves for the draft this year. So
yeah, he's been balling.
That would be absolutely. That kid is a stud. So I'd absolutely love to have him here.
Yeah. And we're getting ready to wrap up with our score predictions for Oregon versus USC. My score prediction, I think it'll be Oregon 38, USC 27. I think, like I said, it'll be – sorry, got some sirens outside. I think Oregon will – it'll be slow, a bit of a slow start and then pick up in the second half, and they'll run away, eventually cover, although I wouldn't put my own money on it. I wouldn't count on that, but I do think they will come away with a double-digit win, 38-27. What do you think, Brody?
I mean, yeah, I think that's absolutely in the realm of possibilities. Like Oregon, explosive offense, USC, a little bit of subpar defense, game day. I think not terrible weather conditions, so Stein doesn't get too cute in trying to draw up all these super elaborate plays. I think will be good.
Cute. Yeah, definitely. What would you say your score prediction is?
My score prediction is Oregon 31, USC 20. That means I think that we'll hold them to 2 field goals in the red zone because I think they will be able to move the ball. I think red zone defense will be a huge focus for Oregon during this week of preparation. And I also think Oregon's going to put up some points against that USC defense, scoring at least 28 to 30, 31, or just somewhere that 28 plus point range. So yeah, we'll see how it plays out.
Brendan, he texted me earlier. He has Oregon 28, USC 17. So flying way under the 59.5. Ducks still cover. So that's an interesting one. We'll see how it plays out on Saturday. It's 12:30 kick. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. We will be back on Sunday, I think at 11 or noon. We'll figure that out, get the live ready. Yeah, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. Put your reactions in the comments. We'll answer some questions next stream. Alrighty. Thank you guys.